Abu Kabir was a satellite village of Jaffa founded by Egyptians following Ibrahim Pasha's 1832 defeat of Turkish forces in Ottoman-era Palestine. During the 1948 Palestine War, it was mostly abandoned and later destroyed. After Israelis' establishment in 1948, the area became part of South Tel Aviv, officially named Giv'at Herzl, the name of an adjacent Jewish neighborhood. The name Abu Kabir continued to be used. Part or all of Abu Kabir was officially renamed Tabitha by the Tel Aviv municipality in 2011. History. Egyptian rule. The Egyptian troops of Ibrahim Pasha captured the city of Jaffa and its environs following a battle with the forces of the Ottoman Empire in 1832. Though Egyptian rule over this area continued only until 1840, Egyptian Muslims settled in and around Jaffa, founding the village of Sakanat Abu Kabir, along with Sakanat al-Mazaiya, among others, an eastern suburb of Jaffa. Many of the Egyptians who populated it came from the village of Tul al-Kabir and named it for their hometown. Ottoman period. An Ottoman village list of about 1870 described Sakanat Abu Kabir as a Bedouin camp, with 136 houses and a population of 440, though the population count included men only. In the survey of Western Palestine, its name is recorded as Sakanat Abu Kabir and it is translated as the settlement of Abu Kabir P.N. Charles Simon Clement Gano, the French archaeologist, visited in 1873 to 1874, searching from the site of the ancient Jewish cemetery of Joppa. He describes Sakanat Abu Kabir as a hamlet, and relates walking through the extensive gardens that close in Jaffa on every side to reach it. He notes that during the heavy winter rains, the gardens between Jaffa and Sakanat Abu Kabir became a small marshy lake that was known as Al-Bassa by the locals, noting that this name is commonly used throughout Syria for seasonal ponds of this nature, and recalling that the Bissa of the Hebrew Bible also means pond. He suggests that the similarity in the Arabic and Hebrew indicates a borrowing from even earlier linguistic traditions. Under an entry entitled The Jewish Necropolis of Joppa, Clement Gano relates that after inquiring with the local fellahan in Abu Kabir, he was led a few yards further on from the hamlet, in the middle of some poorly tilled gardens, where building stone was quarried by the villagers. Laid bare by their activities were sepulchral chambers hollowed out in the calcareous tufa. Quote, he notes that similar graves were said to found in the lands between Abu Kabir to as far as Mikveh Israel and the Catholic cemetery. Other fellahan told him of finds between Sakanat Abu Kabir and Sakanat al-Abid, and still others told of artifacts that they had retrieved from them. One artifact was brought to him which he purchased, a small marble titulus with a 4-line Greek inscription and a 7-branched candlestick. Clement Gano identified this as Helleno-Jewish funeral epigraphy, ascribing it to Hezekiah, and writes that it settled once and for all the nature of the burial ground I had just discovered. Quote, in a letter published by the Palestine Exploration Fund, he expressed his hope to return, noting, we must at least find 2 or 3 more inscriptions of the same kind coming from the same neighborhood, locating the tombs within a circle called Ardh. He notes the area extends over the great gardens outside Jaffa, bounded by a little hamlet called Abu Kabir**, and by the well of Aboa Nabout. The Jewish necropolis was looted mainly during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Dating the site is a challenge due to the lack of objects found in situ, but estimates are that the tombs were used between the 3rd and 5th centuries AD. Most of the necropolis is now in the area of the Russian Orthodox St. Peter's Church compound. According to Mark Levine, The Bedouin pioneers set up a commune among the orange and lemon groves of the Abu Kabir neighborhood between 1882 and 1884. The house used by the commune members is now located in the Neve Ofer neighborhood of Tel Aviv. British Mandate period. During the 1921 Jaffa riots, the violence reached Abu Kabir. The Jewish Yitzhak family owned a dairy farm on the outskirts of the neighborhood, in which they rented out rooms. At the time of the riots, Yosef Chaim Brenner, one of the pioneers of modern Hebrew literature, was living at the site. On May 2, 1921, despite warnings, Yitzhak and Brenner refused to leave the farm and were murdered, along with Yitzhak's teenaged son, his son-in-law and 2 other renters. As Jaffa expanded during the 1920s and 1930s, Abu Kabir was incorporated within the municipal boundaries of Jaffa but retained much of its agricultural character. It consisted of a main built-up part bordering the Jewish sector of Jaffa from the south, and several small concentrations of houses within the surrounding citrus groves. In the wake of violence on the border between Jaffa and Tel Aviv's leaders suggested annexing the Jewish neighborhoods of Jaffa to Tel Aviv. They proposed that the whole of Manshia, including Hassan Bey Mosque, as well as large parts of the Abu Kabir neighborhood, be transferred to the borders of the new Jewish city and state. On August 23, 1944, the British Criminal Investigation Department barracks at Jaffa, and police stations at Abu Kabir and Neve Sha'anan were raided for arms by the Irgun. 1947–1948 War. In 1947, Abu Kabir was situated at the entrance to Tel Aviv on the main road to Jerusalem. On the 30th of November 1947, the day after the UN voted on the partition plan, an Arab mob in Abu Kabir attacked a car with Jewish passengers, killing all 3. Jewish retaliatory strikes followed. On the 2nd of December, the Haganah's Kiryati Brigade blew up an Arab house in Abu Kabir, and the ISADL torched several buildings 4 days later, killing at least 2 persons. During Operation Lamed Hay, named for the 35 casualties of an attack on the convoy of 35, Abu Kabir was raided to cleanse it of the forces acting there. On the night of 12–13 February 1948, the Haganah struck simultaneously at Abu Kabir, Jibali at El Arish and the village of Yazur. At Abu Kabir, 13 Arabs were killed, including the Mukhtar, and 22 injured. According to the Palestine Post, on the 16th of February 1948, the Haganah repulsed an Arab attack on Tel Aviv from Abu Kabir. A second major attack on Abu Kabir was launched on the 13th of March, the objective of which was the destruction of the Abu Kabir neighborhood. By this time, the neighborhood was mostly abandoned by its inhabitants and was guarded by a few dozen militiamen. Sappers blew up a number of houses, and this was the first attack in which Yeshuv-produced David mortars were used to shell the neighborhood. Inaccurate and very loud, the mortars had a demoralizing effect claimed to have reached as far as Gaza. A month after Abu Kabir was conquered, David Ben-Gurion told the Israeli Provisional Government that Jaffa's Arab population should not be allowed to return. If there will be Abu Kabir again, this would be impossible. The world needs to understand we are 700,000 against 27 million, 1 against 40. It won't be acceptable to us for Abu Kabir to be Arab again. Walid Khalidi writes that the Haganah completed the demolition of Abu Kabir by March 31. On April 19, 1948, The Palestine Post reported that, in the Abu Kabir area, the Haganah dispersed Arabs who tried to erect an emplacement facing the AKA factory in Giv'at Herzl. 2 Arabs were shot as they approached the Maccabee Quarter, State of Israel after 1948. Abu Kabir was renamed Giv'at Herzl, although the Arabic name, Abu Kabir, is still used by the now largely Hebrew-speaking population. The Tel Aviv municipality offered Professor Heinrich Mendelssohn, director of the Biological Pedagogical Institute, the option of moving the institute to Abu Kabir, and it was moved into a structure originally planned as a hospital. Chaim Levanon, deputy mayor of Tel Aviv in the early 1950s and mayor from 1953 to 59, energetically campaigned for the founding of a university in Tel Aviv. The idea was realized on August 16, 1953, when the Municipal Council of Tel Aviv-Yafo decided to transform the Biological Pedagogical Institute into the Academic Institute of Natural Sciences, under the leadership of Professor Mendelssohn, which would form the core of a future university. The Abu Kabir campus in southern Tel Aviv had 24 students in its first year. In 1954, the Academic Institute of Jewish Studies was established in Abu Kabir. A university library was also founded, new study tracks were opened, a teaching staff was formed, laboratories and classrooms were built, and an administration established for the campus. The L. Greenberg Institute of Forensic Medicine, locally known as the Abu Kabir Forensic Institute, was established that year. In 1956, the academic institutes were officially upgraded into the new University of Tel Aviv. The zoological gardens became part of the university. The zoological and botanical gardens were moved to the Ramat Aviv campus in 1981. The nature gardens still host the original facilities. The gardens at Abu Kabir are recommended in an Israeli guide to Tel Aviv as a destination for nature lovers. In the tour book Israel and the Palestinian Territories, the former village of Abu Kabir is described as being located in a green space to the east of Jaffa. Salvage excavations were undertaken by Israeli archaeologists in the burial complex at Seknat Abu Kabir in 1991. The Tel Aviv Detention Center, known as the Abu Kabir Prison, is also in the area. Israeli media reported in January 2011 that the part or all of the area in South Tel Aviv known as Abu Kabir, the Hillel neighborhood, was given a new name, Tabitha, by the Tel Aviv municipality's naming committee.